lost you there. Yeah, he has come a long ways. I mean, look, he turned pro at a very young age. He was 18 when he turned pro. He's 26 now. And if you look at his resume, the guys that he's fought, I don't think there's many guys of his age have fought at such high level. And this for him is a big moment. He's now the IBF champion because he won the interim title against Filip Hrgovic, who was undefeated, and they've elevated him now to their full champion because Usyk wasn't in a position to defend his IBF version of the title. So we've got a cracking fight, irrespective of titles, a cracking fight between him and AJ, and I think it's going to be a real great quality classic British fight, all British fight. I think we're going to get a fantastic fight between the two of them.
Speaking yesterday, is it Don Charles, Daniel's trainer, Frank?
Yeah.
He was saying, look, we all know AJ's got that big punch. He says, but don't underestimate Daniel. When AJ throws a right hand, Daniel's right hand will be coming straight back at him. He said, and he thinks he punches as hard, if not harder, than AJ.
I think he's a bigger puncher than AJ. I really do. He's a younger guy. AJ's, what's he now, 34, 35? And, most heavyweights don't reach their prime till they're in their 30s. This young man's really done well. And he's learnt the hard way. He's had a couple of setbacks in his career, and he showed a lot of grit when he took some, which I thought was real terrible criticism from some people in the business, especially when he had such a horrific injury in a fight. And he's come back, and certainly his last two fights, he's had to show what he's all about. He's gritted his teeth. He showed a lot of heart and determination and come through against two undefeated fighters and stopped both of them.
Yeah.
Frank, I've got to say as well, I mean, it's really pleasing that he's at Wembley Stadium as well, because it's great for as much.
And those are the words of Frank Warren as he states that Daniel Dubois is a bigger puncher than Anthony Joshua. He's younger, therefore he should be stronger. And he's, came back from a pretty criticizing career in some of his fights. And let me counterpunch. I think that Daniel Dubois does punch hard. I think he has good punching power. Do I think he punches harder than AJ? I think the way Daniel punches is different from AJ. I think Daniel Dubois chops a lot with his punches, whereas AJ is more precise with punch placement. His punches are more targeted versus Dubois just throws these chopping, thudding shots. Kind of puts you in the mind of George Foreman in a way, maybe like a Frank Bruno in a sense. Of course, that's who he trained with, Frank Bruno. So, that's what you would expect, right? But I think, maybe Daniel has more raw power. I think he's a totally different built guy. AJ's taller by like maybe an inch and a half. You know what I mean? And Daniel Dubois is a lot choppier. He's a thicker guy. So yeah, I think between the physique between these two guys, I think Daniel throws somewhat of more of a thudding punch. But I think AJ's punches are more precise. That's why I think he's more accurate with his shots. The punch placement, it really means everything. And I think it's who punches you and how you get punched and how can you take a punch. And that's the next thing. Could he knock out AJ? I mean, maybe if he caught him with a good shot, and I think that's AJ anyway. I think that's any heavyweight. But I think really what happened with Daniel Dubois, Daniel doesn't like to get hit with precise, quicker punches. You look at Filip Hrgovic and you look at Jarrell Miller and you look at the fact that, he took some shots from Jarrell Miller that shook him up a bit. Okay. But he was still able to stay in there. Like Frank said, bite down and keep on throwing. And the thing about Jarrell Miller was in no type of shape to be fighting Daniel Dubois. This man was 330 some odd pounds. You know what I mean? I would love to see a rematch between those two, but that's just me talking. And, in future tense. But but I think as far as explosive power, I don't think that he punches harder than AJ. But none of that matters because you got to land anyway, right? You have to land anyway when it comes down to fighting, okay? This is not a power slap competition. It's just not. You know what I mean? If that was the case, that would be a totally different situation. Daniel Dubois, he's getting older. He has good punching power. He's always had good punching power. But I think Daniel Dubois, Daniel Dubois' punching power has always been overrated. Always. Okay, because of the way that Queensberry built him up, the way they marketed Daniel Dubois, though a lot of those first 10 to 11 wins, knockout wins, I think they were quickly stopped. Okay, because these were in the UK. Okay, so basically, I look at British refs a lot of times. I look at them a lot like amateur refs. You know what I mean? Like amateurs, you can't get teed off on without them just stopping it. Like, nah, this is it. You know what I mean? UK professional refs do a similar job when some fighter gets in trouble. And if you look at Daniel Dubois, if you look at his first 10 fights, a lot of those fights were stopped. Okay? A lot of those fights were stopped. That was my only concern when he did rise in competition against Joe Joyce. If they would stop the fight with Joe Joyce. Not that if he could hurt or knock out or drops Joe Joyce. If they would stop it on Joe because Joe's getting hit too many times. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take long. 2 or 3 solid shots clean. Oh yeah. They're waving that fight off. So I think Daniel Dubois now is fighting guys, like Usyk and, guys like that. Miller, he fought Usyk and Miller the same year, and then he fought Ergovic. And Ergovic, has decent punching power, but, Ergovic has he's been in there and he's not really been tested himself. So I'm glad a lot of these fights are taking place, but can Daniel Dubois knock out AJ? Of course he can. He has the power to do it. He's a heavyweight. He should. You know what I mean? And I think now he's looking at the fight game a totally different way. I think he's actually growing because he's in there with different fighters that's making him fight. Not tricky, boxing, quick, all-time great fighters like Usyk. Usyk, that's just a fight he probably wasn't ready for. On top of dealing with stuff that he probably needed to deal with. I don't know what that is. But that Kevin Ledena fight really rose my eyebrows. And of course, the Usyk fight really, gave people, something to look at from Daniel that they never really experienced from Daniel. And that's his ability to quit. So, at what point will someone get him back to that? That's always going to be the question with Daniel Dubois. But if I'm Frank Warren, I'll be saying the same shit about Daniel Dubois based on his last 2 wins. He has the momentum. So does AJ. But you guys tell me what you think about Frank Warren stating that Daniel Dubois hits harder than AJ and is going to knock AJ out, and he's younger, therefore he's stronger. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunched. Peace.